The night before our baby was born, my husband's mom sat me down and said, "You'll name the baby after me, or I'll make your life miserable." My husband smiled and said, "She's just being sweet." I laughed and said, "Then you'll both love the name I chose." The look on their faces when they heard it was priceless. I was 9 months pregnant. Due any day. It was our first baby. You'd think that'd be enough stress, right? But no. My husband's mom, let's call her Rhonda, decided that was the perfect time to insert herself into our lives in the most controlling, manipulative way. Rhonda had always been a bit much. She's one of those women who believes she's the smartest, most elegant person in any room. Always dressed to the nines, always talking about her younger years as a beauty queen and how a woman's worth is measured by the elegance she brings into a man's home. Her words, not mine. She didn't like me much from the beginning. She always made passive-aggressive comments about how I was too loud, too working class, too opinionated. I teach 8th grade English in a public school. Not exactly high society. Now, my husband, Dave, is the kind of guy who avoids conflict. And by avoids, I mean he lets people walk all over him if it means keeping the peace. He's not a bad man, but when it comes to his mom, he turns into this weird little shadow of himself. Like she shrinks him with just a look. Red flag? Sure. But when you're in love, you ignore a lot of things you shouldn't. Anyway, fast forward to the night before I'm scheduled for my induction. I'm uncomfortable, sore, exhausted, and nervous as hell. Dave suggested we have dinner at his parents' house. He thought it would calm my nerves. I didn't want to go, but I also didn't want to fight about it. So we went. Dinner was tense. Rhonda had prepared this elaborate meal like we were attending a royal banquet. She kept touching my belly without asking, kept saying things like, "He'll have his father's jawline," and "She'll be a tiny little dancer like me." No acknowledgement that this baby might be their own person. Just nonstop projecting. Then, after dessert, she asked me to stay back a minute while Dave helped his dad with something in the garage. I'll never forget what she said. She sat across from me, folded her hands like she was a damn judge about to sentence someone, and said, "You're going to name this baby after me. If it's a girl, she'll be Rhonda Jr. If it's a boy, Ronald." I've waited a long time for this moment. Don't mess it up. At first, I thought she was joking. I laughed and said, "Yeah, right?" Her face didn't move. She leaned forward, eyes hard. "I'm not joking. I have sacrificed everything for this family. I expect the same from you. And if you don't," she paused here, sipped her wine like she was in some movie, "I will make your life miserable. You have no idea what I'm capable of." I stared at her. I remember my jaw actually dropped. My baby was kicking inside me, like they were pissed too. I said, "You seriously think threatening a pregnant woman is the way to get your name in a birth certificate?" She smiled. "I'm trying to protect this family's legacy." At that moment, Dave walked back in. I turned to him, expecting him to say something. Anything. But he just shrugged and said, "She's just being sweet in her own way." Sweet. Sweet? I don't know what came over me, but something snapped. I smiled, the fakest smile I've ever smiled, and said, "Then you'll both love the name I've chosen." They looked confused. Rhonda raised an eyebrow. "What name?" I stood up, grabbed my coat, and said, "It's a surprise. You'll find out soon enough." I left. Dave followed me to the car, asking what that was about. I didn't answer. I needed space. That night, I barely slept. My brain was spinning. This woman, this entitled, controlling nightmare, thought she could claim ownership over my baby. And worse, my husband didn't have the spine to stand up for me. I went into labor the next morning. It was long, painful, and honestly, a blur. But one thing was crystal clear. I would not name my child after that woman. In fact, I had something much, much better planned. See, a few months earlier, I'd reconnected with my grandmother. She passed when I was young, but I'd found a bunch of her old letters and journals in my mom's attic. Her name was Lucille. She was strong, kind, and had escaped a really abusive marriage in the 50s, which was almost unheard of back then. I decided if we had a girl, we'd name her Lucy. And if we had a boy, Luke. We had a girl. And I named her Lucille Hope. When Rhonda came to the hospital later that afternoon, still expecting a grand reveal, I handed her the announcement card. Her lips curled like she'd bitten into a lemon. "Who is Lucille?" I said. "My grandmother." A woman who actually deserved to be honored. She looked at Dave like she expected him to fix it. He just looked away. Then she looked at me and said, "You'll regret this." I said, "I already regret letting you near my child. There's more. So much more." But that was the moment it all really began. The war. The games. The petty revenge. And trust me, she did try to make my life miserable. But she wasn't ready for what came next. After the hospital scene, we didn't hear from Rhonda for a few days. It was honestly peaceful. Quiet. Dave was overwhelmed with new dad duties, I was sore and trying to breastfeed without crying, and baby Lucy was doing what newborns do, eating, sleeping, crying, and pooping like it was an Olympic event. Then on day 4, the peace shattered. I was in the middle of feeding Lucy when I heard the front door open. Yes, open. Not knock. Not doorbell. Open. I froze. My heart started pounding. Dave was at the store picking up groceries. I was home alone. I peeked out from the nursery, and there she was. Rhonda. In my house. With a key I never gave her. She called out, "I thought I'd surprise you and help out with the baby." Help? She didn't even call. I stood there in my milk-stained tank top, my hair in a bun, baby on my chest, and I felt this sharp rage bubble up in my throat. "You need to leave," I said. She gave me that fake smile. "Oh, don't be silly. I'm family. I have every right to be here." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I stayed calm. I remembered something my therapist once told me, people like her feed off chaos. Don't give them the meal. So I smiled too. "Okay, if you're going to be here, then you'll need to follow my house rules." She raised an eyebrow, amused. "Rules?" "Yes," I said. "Rule number 1, you don't touch the baby without asking." She scoffed. "I'm her grandmother. I'm her mother." She didn't like that. But she backed off for a minute. The next few days were chaos. Rhonda kept showing up to help. She criticized everything. How I held Lucy. How I dressed her. How I fed her. She brought baby clothes that were pink overload, frilly, glittery, covered in Princess Rhonda quotes. One onesie even said, "Named after Grandma." Yeah, that went straight to the donation pile. Dave? Useless. He kept saying, "She just wants to be involved." I asked him, "Do I matter? Does what I want matter?" He said I was being dramatic. So I decided to stop arguing and start planning. First, I changed the locks. Quietly. Without telling her. Second, I got a nanny cam. I put it in the living room, hidden in a decorative clock. And third, I waited. One morning, I told Dave I was going to take a nap. Instead, I left the house with Lucy and drove to my friend Kayla's place. I told Dave I'd be back in a few hours. He didn't ask questions. Sure enough, Rhonda showed up. And she used her spare key. The one she copied without permission. I saw the whole thing on the nanny cam footage later that night. She didn't know I wasn't home. She walked in like she owned the place. She went straight to Lucy's crib. Empty. Then she started going through my stuff. Drawers. Cabinets. My bedside table. I watched in disbelief as she pulled out my postpartum meds, took pictures of the bottles, and mumbled, "Maybe this will help me prove she's unstable." My hands were shaking. She was trying to set me up. She thought if she could make me look like an unfit mom, she'd somehow get Dave, and maybe even the courts, on her side. I called my lawyer friend. Asked what I could do. He said, "Document everything." So I did. The next day, I confronted her. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just handed her a USB drive. "What's this?" she asked. "Footage," I said. "Of you breaking into my house, invading my privacy, and trying to build a case against me." Her face went pale. She opened her mouth. I stopped her. "If you ever come near my child again without my permission, I will file a restraining order." And I will go public with everything. She tried to laugh it off. You wouldn't. Try me. She stormed out. Dave was furious at me. He said I was being cruel, that I was destroying his family. I said, no, your mother is doing that. And if you don't get it, maybe you should go stay with her for a while. He left. For 2 days. I didn't care. I had Lucy, and that was enough. When he came back, he was quiet. Tired. Like something had broken in him. I saw the footage, he finally said. I didn't want to believe she could be that person. She is. He nodded. Then he said the words I never thought I'd hear. I want to go no contact. That wasn't the end. Not even close. Because Rhonda wasn't done. Not by a long shot. She started spreading lies to family. Called CPS on me. Yes, called Child Protective Services claiming my house was unsafe. That I was mentally unstable. That Dave had moved out because he feared for the baby. It was all lies. But we had proof. Footage. Emails. Witnesses. The CPS worker saw right through it. She was kind, understanding. She even apologized for the visit. But the damage? It was deep. Our marriage was cracking. I was exhausted. Dave was depressed. And Rhonda? She still hadn't stopped. She had one more move to make. And it would change everything. After the CPS stunt flopped, I thought maybe she'd crawl back into whatever cold hole she'd come from. She didn't. About 2 weeks after that visit, I got a letter in the mail. Not email. A physical, typed, signed letter on official-looking letterhead from the OB/GYN clinic I'd gone to during my pregnancy. The letter said they were deeply concerned about reports of postpartum mental health instability and recommending a psychiatric hold for evaluation. My heart dropped into my stomach. It looked real. My name was on it. The doctor's name. Even her signature. But I knew it was fake. Because just 2 days before, I'd had a perfectly normal follow-up with my actual OB. She hugged me and said, "You're doing great. Don't let anyone shake you." This wasn't a mistake. This was Rhonda. I called the clinic. I emailed them a scan of the letter. They were horrified. The clinic director called me personally and said, "That's not ours. The letterhead is copied, but this was not written or signed by anyone here." I filed a police report for document forgery. Then I sat down with my lawyer friend again. He looked at the letter and said, "You need to be prepared. She's building something bigger. And she's not doing it alone." I didn't understand what he meant until a court summons showed up at our door. Family court. Emergency petition for temporary custody rights to the child by the paternal grandmother. My hands shook. I was shaking so hard I had to sit down. She was suing me for visitation and claiming Dave was mentally manipulated by me. She included a declaration saying I had isolated Dave, wouldn't let her see the baby, and that she was concerned for the child's safety. There were fake text messages, fake screenshots, and attached to the petition, the fake OB letter. She was trying to legally take access to my daughter, not just show up and be a pain. She wanted court-ordered access. That was her endgame all along. I don't remember crying. I remember pure rage. Cold, clear, and focused. It was like a survival switch flipped on inside me. I started building my case. I printed every email she sent. Every screenshot of her texts. The video footage of her entering my home, snooping, taking pictures. The nanny cam clips of her saying she would make my life miserable. The voice memos I had started recording on my phone every time she visited, just in case. I had it all. The court hearing was 3 weeks out. And they were the longest 3 weeks of my life. Dave, for his part, was broken. Guilty. But even he said, she's not going to stop until a judge tells her to. He finally agreed to submit his own declaration. It wasn't fiery or dramatic. It was simple. My wife is a good mother. My mother is lying. The day of court came. Rhonda showed up dressed like she was going to a garden party, floral dress, pearls, a smug little smile. She thought she had won. But the judge saw right through it. We presented our evidence. The clinic director testified, in person, that the letter was forged, and that they were investigating Rhonda for fraud. My lawyer laid it all out, clean and organized. The trespassing, the nanny cam footage, the CPS call, the manipulation, and now, forgery. It was almost too much. The judge asked Rhonda directly, "Did you write or assist in writing this letter?" She denied it. Then my lawyer pulled out the kicker. We had tracked the original Word docs metadata using a tech forensic guy he knew. The document was created on a computer tied to Rhonda's email address. Same font, same name as the fake screenshots. Boom. The courtroom was dead silent. Then the judge turned to Rhonda and said, "Your behavior is not only deeply disturbing, it's dangerous. If you attempt any contact with the child or either parent without written permission, I will issue a restraining order immediately." She lost it. Started yelling in court. She stole my son. She tricked him. She turned him against me. Bailiffs escorted her out. The judge gave us everything we asked for: full custody, no visitation, no contact, and a court record that would make sure she couldn't try again under a different name or city. But even with that, even after the storm passed, I didn't feel safe. Because people like her don't just stop. They pause. And sure enough, the next message I got came from her sister. A week after court, I got a Facebook message from Rhonda's sister. I didn't even know she had a sister. Let's call her Marlene. The message said, "I'm sorry about what happened. Rhonda's not well. Please understand she's hurting." I didn't respond. 3 days later, a letter showed up at our door again. This time from Marlene. Handwritten. It begged for a second chance. It said Rhonda was spiraling and losing everything. It said she was willing to apologize if I let her see Lucy one time. One time. The arrogance. I sat on the floor holding that letter, Lucy napping in the crib next to me, and for the first time in months. I felt tired. Not just physically. Tired in my soul. That night, I told Dave we were done with his family. No more second chances. No more discussions. If they contact me again, I'll file for harassment. He nodded. Quietly. But he wasn't himself. Over the next few weeks, I noticed Dave pulling away. He was distracted. Distant. Like something was eating at him. At first, I blamed stress. Then, one night while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. It was a text from Marlene. She still doesn't know? My stomach flipped. I scrolled up. And there it was. Dozens of texts. From before the court hearing. Dave had been in contact with Marlene and Rhonda the whole time. He told them everything. What our lawyer said. What evidence we had. How mad I was. He even said, "I think she's overreacting, but I have to support her." Overreacting? This man watched his mother forge a doctor's letter to get custody of our daughter and still thought I was the problem? I confronted him right there, soaking wet from the shower, towel around his waist, looking guilty as hell. "You lied to me," I said. "You told me you were done with her." He stammered, tried to spin it. Said he was trying to keep the peace, that he didn't tell them everything, just enough to calm them down. I was shaking. "You handed them ammo. What if they'd used that to win in court?" He had no answer. That night, I packed a bag for me and Lucy. I went to my sister's place in Bend, Oregon. I didn't file for divorce. Not yet. But I sent him a message the next morning. "You need to decide if you're going to be a husband and a father, or your mother's puppet." He didn't respond for 2 days. And when he did, it was an email. Short. Cold. "I'm sorry. I love you both. But she's still my mom." That was it. That was it. He picked her. So I picked me. I filed for full custody. I had more than enough to prove emotional endangerment, manipulation, and lack of support. I didn't even ask for child support. I just wanted him gone. The judge granted everything. And Rhonda? She didn't take it well. She sent more letters. One included a Bible verse about forgiveness underlined in red ink. Another said, "One day Lucy will grow up and wonder why she doesn't know her grandma. I'll tell her the truth." So I did something she didn't expect. I printed every document, every letter, every screenshot. every fake message. I put it all in a sealed folder, labeled, "The Truth About Grandma Rhonda." It's locked in my fireproof box. And one day, when Lucy's old enough, I will tell her everything. But not out of hate. Out of truth. Fast forward 3 years. I'm remarried. Happier. Calmer. I trust again, but I verify. Lucy is 4 now. Bright. Funny. Fierce like her name. She doesn't remember Rhonda. Doesn't remember Dave either. He moved to Texas with Marlene. I haven't heard from him since he signed over parental rights. Yep, he actually signed them over to avoid paying anything. That's how deep his cowardice ran. And Rhonda? I heard through an old mutual friend that she got sued for forging another document. Something to do with her church. She lost everything. Her job. Her reputation. Apparently, she's living in a trailer on the outskirts of Dallas, telling anyone who'll listen that her evil daughter-in-law stole her grandchild. I guess that's how she sleeps at night. Me? I sleep just fine. And sometimes, when I look at Lucy laughing, running, living a life untouched by that woman's poison, I think to myself, you were right, Rhonda. I didn't name her after you. But I did name her after a warrior. And that's a legacy you will never touch.